Hello, hello. Welcome to our show. Season 3 of Wheel of Time came out. I wasn't going to watch it. I really wasn't. And then Tim was like, "Yo, this is actually really good." And then I was like, let me check it out and see how wrong Tim is." And some opinions kind of changed in that little time. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. Um Tim, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course.
Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I guess it's a popular show. Like, not really. It's a failing show, but it's something to talk about at least because it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
There's not really
Yeah.
anything to talk about necessarily, not too much. But yeah, we're gonna do our general thoughts and opinions on the show overall, guys. Spoilers. This is assuming you've watched the show already. And then after that, we're going to go into more detail talking about like episode to episode kind of thing. So, Wheel of Time season 3. And if you're looking at the thumbnail, like kind of a surprise. All right. I mean, Tim, how did you feel starting out?
I mean, maybe more of a surprise for you. Season 2 had ups and downs for sure. Overall, it felt kind of bland, but it had enough highs for me that I liked the direction they were maybe going. So I came in just barely hopeful, but hopeful. And then I felt like they started strong with this season, and and maybe episode 2 and 3, I was kind of back on the fence, but still enjoying it. And then they hit me in the face with episode 4, incredible quality. So, and then and then the latter half, I would say, back to sort of middling, but with some highs still. So yeah, I'm coming out. I'm less positive about it by the end than I was when I was telling you needed to watch it. So I'll say that
Right.
I've come back down to earth after some highs that they maybe yeah, and I thought that could happen. In fact, I would say the middle of this season was so ridiculously spectacular that it set my expectations way too high for the rest. That was, in my opinion, episode 4 was one of the best episodes of fantasy television I've seen in a very long time. But then
Yeah.
it flopped on a lot of the rest. That's what I'll say.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
I don't really agree with the season 2 take. I thought it was horrible. I thought whoever designed that horn should be fired and never be allowed to work
Don't
ever
get me wrong,
again.
I have complaints. I do.
That moment where he summoned the warriors, I'm just like, there's just so much cringe in that season. It was just so hard to focus, and it was just it felt like very like it feels like a lot of these shows are very like tick, and especially in season 1, which was unanimously a disaster. It feels like TikTok brain, or at least that they think that is that's what people want, because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they want their like short little clip stuff, and then they kind of have this put it into a show that's like long form, and it's so disjointed, and it's just like you're getting like whiplash watching
Yes.
like something that's supposed to be slower pace, and it's just like, guys, you know, TikTok's got its problems, but like people go to TikTok for the TikTok content. They're not coming to Amazon to watch an hour and 45-minute like TikTok mash montage show. Like, stop it. And it kind of felt like they learned their lesson, and I think that stays true throughout the season. As much as I like agree, this fell apart like bad, bad at the end.
I would
Um,
even say I think your point on TikTok is really good, and I think they drifted back into that by
Towards
the
the end,
end. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, a
That was
little
something
bit.
I noticed. And I was getting whiplash. I think I was looking at episode 6 again. I think it was, and I just couldn't. It's not that I couldn't keep track. It's just I kept whipping back to characters I didn't care about, then to other characters I didn't
Mm,
care about, then to others, and then finally to something good. And they just did this massive cycle of things. It wasn't hard to keep track of. It was just, why am I watching these short little clips
right. Right,
of
maybe I wasn't paying attention to 6 good enough, but like, yeah, no, I guess I could agree with that. It's like in 1 and 2 was like it was bad,
mm,
and I'm just like, guys, just let me just soak it in. Let me just like live in it. And I'm like, episode 1, kind of 2, like in 2 as well too, because I remember being like, yo, this is actually, you're kind of right. This is kind of good in episode 2, but I'm like, man, they're actually letting moments happen. I'm
yeah.
like, this is crazy. Like, which is, I mean,
They
crazy that
fleshed
they
out
think
a lot
to
of
do
really fun
otherwise.
characters and a lot of really fun scenes in this that, yeah, would have been rushed in the previous seasons for sure.
And I'll say, and probably the internet's going to turn their opinion later, but like, I kind of felt from other reviewers and other people that have enjoyed the books and stuff like that, that they're kind of the same. They're like, yeah, season 1, 2 were garbage, but season 3 is kind of picking up. And
Mhm.
then it's like, I was like halfway through, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's some good content here, but is it too late? And like, or can we just look past some of the flaws that are going to carry on from the previous seasons? Because it was like it felt like Rand was so much better watching in the this season,
Rand was
and
incredible this season. Yeah.
right, I was like, oh, they actually did cast him really well,
Yeah.
and it's so like they're
Well, see, that's the thing is some of the bad stuff in seasons 1 and 2, I think, distracted people
yeah,
because I right away in season 1, I knew Rand was a great choice. I thought they cast him perfectly from day one, and if anything, they almost they showed little hints of what we finally saw this season in terms of his personality and character, like his weird little moments of rage in season 1,
yeah,
that they fed into sort of his arc in this season, but it was drowned out by the drama and by the focus on Moiraine. I love the actress and I love some of her. Anyways, this isn't about season 1. But you get my point. Is finally, he got to shine. I think that's the problem. They let other characters overpower him and overshadow him in seasons 1 and 2. It
Mm.
One, they nerfed him. That's I think, and
yeah.
that's intentional.
Do you remember that there was like the question of who the the dragon was going to be, and then they had what's her name as a potential possibility of being the dragon in
90. Well,
season
they had
one?
all of that. They were trying
Yeah,
to keep you guessing that it could be all of them or just one
yeah,
of them, and which one you didn't know. And even having read the books, I was genuinely nervous the whole time. Are they going to make it someone else?
yeah. Not Rand. Yeah,
Even knowing the books, yeah.
yeah. So that was like my big question after being like, especially episode one, because the action. This is the first time the action where I'm like, yeah, this is actually pretty good action. There's like chaos and everything is happening. I do have some questions more story wise than that. We'll get into later, but
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I only read book 1 and parts of book 2, and I noped out. And I thought this was a kind of a universally loved book, and kind of learning now that it's not universally loved. It's either loved or hated.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was like, okay, I'm like, would I like the other seasons if I didn't have the context of the books? And I was kind of curious about that. Um,
And so this would be kind of your first one where you're really going in blind.
Yeah, I have no context at all because I know even season 2 is like, oh, this is not following the books at all.
Yeah.
Um, but
So much this.
right, but I still think it's a matter of I don't know who I kind of looked a little bit to see like who's different in the staff this time around, and there had to be in like 1 or 2 people that was just different for a few of these episodes that were
Mm.
like locked in and were like, hey, we know how to do this stuff. And it seemed to shine, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like so a lot of these shows because you told me that this season had a mix of book 3 and 4, right?
This one, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there was like a rush to get to the parts that the creators want to get to.
Well,
Uh,
it's tough. I mean, if anything, because thinking back, season 2 really covered book 2 and a bit of book 3. I think they kind of crammed in there, and then this season a bit of book 3, but they skipped the ending of book 3. They're saving that for later, and this was really more book 4. A heavy focus on book 4, I think, is fair. Makes me want to reread them now, but
it's weird
uh,
skipping thing. I bring it up because like what is the show called Shadow and Bone, and that was
okay,
kind of a
yeah.
flop ish too. But
Yeah, didn't like it.
um,
Yeah, no, overall didn't like. I
yeah,
only watched it for the what's his name, the Prince Caspian actor.
yeah, yeah. Doesn't everyone watch it for him?
Exactly.
Yeah, no. Well, somebody was telling me that there was the one plot going on with like the guys that had the different powers, like one like something with metal, like one was a gunslinger kind of
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
And somebody was telling me like, yeah, that's not in the actual like original first trilogy. That's in the second trilogy.
yeah.
And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, the creator really just wanted to get to that second part because that's actually the more popular series and that's what he was a fan of. But to do that, he rushed through the story of the first trilogy and kind of completely. gaffed it. And I'm like, is something similar happening to this season where they're like, oh, we want to get to the parts that are good? Because when I see, or from kind of what you said, is like, yeah, the first couple books, and I've heard from other people, are kind of a slog, but in the middle books are like prime. Is that?
Well, oh, for Wheel of Time, I always hear the opposite. People have so
Hmm.
many opinions on that. Yeah, no, if anything, here's what's interesting to me. Books one, two, three, and I think four, less so four, but definitely one, two, and three
Hmm.
have a very similar arc. So they have a very, very slow build with a good amount of action throughout, but kind of slow build, world fleshing, character building, and then really rapid escalation and action and a rapid drop right after, and it ends. But a very similar arc. If you read them, and so they follow the same cycle, and then book two, same cycle, different context. Book three, same cycle, different context. And it's
Hmm.
honestly somewhat like I honestly thought, okay, clearly Robert Jordan was following a formula for writing these books.
Yeah.
And the question was, how much was that just what he knew how to do, and how much was that intentional, because it is literally called the Wheel of Time. Everything is meant to be cyclical. So I kind of liked that. And then,
Well, just because it's on purpose doesn't mean it's good.
yeah, but that's my point. So, but I never found it that bad, but it did mean by book four, I was kind of like, okay, I need something new. And
Hmm.
luckily, in the middle books, he broke that cycle, and you never know what to expect. So a lot of people call those middle books a slog. I loved them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what people call the slog. It's like five, six, seven, eight.
I did hear some of them are a slog. It's like a lot of books too, and I'm just
Yeah, it is a
like
lot of books.
what
It's
percentage of
literally.
these books are good, guys? Like,
I frankly like. I just enjoyed the journey, and I really
mm,
liked. Overall, I thought Sanderson, who completed them, pulled
mm.
it off. So I really liked the end. So to me, it was all worth it. But I,
Back when Sanderson
but
was
I can
good.
understand why some people, wouldn't enjoy it. It's just, yeah, like I don't. I don't know. I don't. So yeah, I don't think they were trying to rush through a slog. The early books, again, like I
Mm,
said, they have a cycle, but they're not. I wouldn't call them a slog. I think the slog is now what they're about to get into, which is maybe why they haven't renewed.
yeah,
Is because no one wants to go through, a 7 season slog now just to get to the 8, 9, and 10 to end us off.
yeah, and that's the thing is people kind of were speculating that this was going to be the last, potentially the last season, depending on how well they did.
Yeah, and I think they've
Um,
set it up that way. I think they're still nervous. They're still trying to gauge how everyone feels before they do more.
yeah, I'm just like, just cut it. At this point, like those last couple episodes were so bad, and I'm like, I think mostly like my surprise really comes from like how not bad it was versus the other two seasons. It's just kind of, it
Yeah.
was kind of crazy turnaround. But I was like, are they going to do it? Like, is this the underdog story?
Yeah, like
But
that's
no,
the thing. I
they did
wish
not
they
pull it
had
off.
just kept climbing. That would have been amazing. That's the thing is, and I think they could have. I do not think four should not have been the peak of this season
Yeah,
at all. I think they had potential to just keep going, and then whatever they did right, they just thought, you know what, let's go
yeah.
back.
People loved episode 4, and it's so like a big problem with this season was at fault of the previous seasons, which the casting is still terrible for most of the characters. Um, uh, some of them are just so bad, but it's like, well, they can't recast. They can't really recast all of them or whatever. But
Not the ones who leave.
yeah, I was like, okay, so did they fix did they hire a different casting person? It's like, then you get to the later part of the season, they're like, nope, they're still casting terrible people. You just had a few good ones. Yeah, so there's that. So episode 4, let's talk about that because that was like the highlight of the season.
Sure.
I was like, okay, cinematically, this is great, and also we're not doing the TikTok thing. We're letting things breathe. But I'm like a little confused, and I'm like, do you need like? I feel like this is going to be way more entertaining if you've read the books.
That's probably that I guarantee is true. I think having read those scenes, and some people who read the books were disappointed because there were
Mm.
changes there. And that brings us to the finale because Matt, funny enough, was supposed to be there at Ruidian with them.
Oh,
So Matt's scenes in the finale that we just saw with the fox-like creature, the Aelfin, that was supposed to happen at Ruidian. He goes into a gate there, and that's where that happens.
That was so confusing. We'll get into the more detailed
Yeah,
part.
but
So
it is confusing. That's the thing. Ruidian is very in the books too. You read that and you go through the mental trip that you just experienced. And that's the thing. They captured. I think they captured the books perfectly with that. At least the feel of it to me was on point. So it is meant to be kind of confusing and very. It takes time to process it. You're like, what did I just read, or what did I just watch?
yeah.
You know. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's definitely more satisfying having read it first. That's a lot to
Yeah.
capture on screen.
So something that I really liked, the Greymen. I thought
Yes,
they're cool. They're definitely cool, and that the chick that makes the Greymen, I thought she was
Morgedian.
overall like cool, and I thought her like entrance in the end of season 2, I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool entrance.
Yeah. Oh, Mogedian. I thought they cast her perfectly. I thought she was overall perfectly done. The Gray Men, like you said, they were man, they nailed that. Okay,
Yeah,
that scene in episode one, that horror scene of Matt being stuck looking at the cards and they're coming to life.
yeah,
That was a little scarier in the book because they actually start like slashing him and attacking him. But they captured the rest of that scene perfectly. The Gray Man just passing in and out of vision, because they can barely focus on him. That was
right.
perfect. The Rand coming out of the mirrors, like the different versions of him attacking them,
Mhm.
the axe flying around trying to kill Perrin, like that was right out of the book, and it was so satisfying. That was
Yeah.
incredible.
Two things I want to mention real quick because I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
I want to mention like the kind of the just dreams in general in this season.
Yep.
And also, and I brought this complaint up to you, and this is kind of a book complaint, I guess, because I'm like, episode 1 was very enjoyable, but I'm also like, are like half of the Aes Sedai evil? Like, what's going on?
There are a
I'm
lot
like,
of
this
dark
is like
friends.
Hydra levels of like bad.
Yeah. Well, this is what's interesting, and now they're starting to do it finally, which I liked it in the books. One of the things Robert Jordan did well is he showed people who were dark friends who were just evil because they had made this, they've made these oaths to the dark
Yeah.
one. They had gone pure evil, but then you also just have the evil of politics and human nature, because like what you see in the finale. So not everyone doing crap things in this story, in the show or the books, is actually a dark friend. You have some people like some of the Red Ajah, you know,
Yeah.
or like Suan Sanche's death, which is not in the books, or at least not here. I don't think that if
Is
she
she the
died.
Amberland?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Emerald Sea. Yeah, no. That was that scene was. Well, anyways, yeah, we can get to that. But the point is, yeah, the Aes Sedai are meant to have, yes, lots of dark friends among them, but also lots of just crap people because some people are just jerks,
Yeah.
and people are political and people are conniving and people are selfish. And those are sometimes two different things. Sometimes people destroy people because they're selfish bastards, and sometimes people destroy people because they are just full on evil.
Yeah, it was like a little comical. It's like, oh, I'm a dark friend. It's like, whoa, actually, half of us are dark friends. It's like, what? And I
Yeah.
think that was actually something I was thinking when I was reading book 1 too, because I was just like, man, Rand and Matt just keep on running into all these dark friends. It's like,
Well,
I think they
what the
already
book does,
overtook everything.
what the book does better, like what the books do better, is you have to bear in mind that the dark, after the initial fall, or whatever
Mm.
the cataclysm, whatever it's called,
Yeah,
there's 3,000 years. So over this huge period of time, they kill all the male channelers,
yeah,
and they hunt down dark friends. And for a while, they've reached this period where it seems like darkness has mostly sort of vanished, where the evil seems to be under control. Male channelers are a rarity.
mm,
You kind of have this false stability, and the point is everyone has kind of started letting their guard down, but it's happened over centuries. So over centuries, the dark one has been, planting. So it's not like it's always been the case that there were always a bunch of dark friends in there. That's why they're
yeah.
so surprised to have
No,
so
I
many
get that. I'm
appear.
kind of just like, well, when do you decide to pull the trigger? for
Yeah.
world domination. Because I'm like, I feel like if you pulled the trigger right now, I feel like you'd be fine. You know?
Yeah, well, that's the
Uh,
point. Is they're built like they are. Well, maybe that's my complaint for the books as well as the show. Is you know they by the point the story begins, they are perfectly poised to, as you said, pull the trigger, and
yeah,
yet it takes 14 books for us to finally reach the last battle. Excuse
yeah,
me, why didn't they by a certain point all of the Forsaken, excuse me, except for like two, are loose in the world. The two die in book one. I think.
yeah.
Anyways, you get it. Like, oh,
No, yeah, that's I that was kind of like a thing I was thinking. But all
yeah,
right,
it
so
drags on.
like,
It should never have dragged on as long as it did. I'll say
yeah, the Aja. Okay, in the books, can they just like boom headshot people?
I mean, was that
Like I
believable?
know it's powerful, but I'm like, she just straight up just like headshot, headshot, headshot. I'm like,
Well, they can do
okay,
a lot of complex stuff with the one power
yeah,
for sure.
okay,
Was that like, to me? Could they have done a million things cooler than a magical equivalent of a bullet? Like, yes, that was. I thought that was lame.
yeah. I that's kind of where I was at. I was just like, this is just a bullet at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, I don't feel like the books did anything like that. At least I didn't get that vibe from episode one. But either way, the dreaming. All right. So
yes,
the thing that I really liked about the first book was that they were constantly haunted whenever they went to sleep. It's like
Mhm.
they were on the run when they were awake and they were being tortured in their sleep. And I'm like, oh, this is entertaining. And that was completely absent of the first and second season. And it felt like they kind of brought that into this season. Not to mention you had them like actually trying to control the dream and stuff. I was like,
yeah.
mainly
Well,
because
that's
I don't care about that actress and stuff. But
Egwene's character, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and those all the yeah, I don't care about the people really either.
The Aiel.
Uh, yeah, that you yeah,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, like them I love in the books, which is probably why
yeah.
I kind of like.
Well, are they just like 95% girl boss in the books?
Well, yes and no. There's the Maidens of the Spear who are what you
Okay.
see, but there's also the male spear handlers.
Yeah, well, the male spear handlers are like absent,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it's just
But I mean,
a
this has been
lot
a
of
girl power show from day one. I think that's
no, that's fine. That's fine to have that, but it's just there's a lot of cringe when it comes to them, and also I mean, what's the people that follow the leaf? I just don't like.
the
I
Tuatha.
hate.
Yeah. Oh, the wave. What's the Tinkers? The Tinkers. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're barely shown in the first book. At least I remember they have like a
Mhm.
luncheon with him or whatever. But I'm like, I don't like the pacifist culture, typically speaking, in like brutish lands. 'Cause I'm like, they just don't survive. Come
Yeah.
on, guys. You can't like every house is a dark friend. You're telling me that these people are just,
Walking
marrying their way
around.
through the forest? No.
Yeah. Now
Um,
that is not something I really enjoyed in the books per se, but that's the thing is the relationship between the Aiel and the Tuatha is captured perfectly. I thought that was actually dead on.
Interesting.
They could have built it more for sure, but that is straight out of the books. So
I'll see. I'm gonna try to do the books again. I'll let you know how I feel
yeah,
about
when you get
it.
further in,
But
you see a lot more of that, and
yeah,
and yeah, well, like as you saw in episode four, once you see the history of how they are actually the same people, just divided without realizing, and that's why they hate each other without knowing that they share this common history. That part I liked, and again, I'm not really a big fan of the pacifist, hyper
yeah.
vegan. I don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah. It's just you're an oath breaker, and I was like,
yeah,
okay,
you're
sure.
badass oath
You're all
breakers.
dead
Like you're
without him
actually,
doing that, but
I saw that and I was like, no, I want to be an oath breaker. Like these
yeah,
are badass.
yeah. Okay,
More
let's
so in the
just
books. More so in the books than.
let's
Yeah.
talk about the end. Specifically, like episode 6 was I was kind of like, I don't know, that wasn't whatever. You can have some not great episodes, but then episode 7 happened. It was like the big battle, and to be fair, Hollywood in general cannot do big battles, and this was just like embarrassingly bad as a big battle. I think I'm gonna like do like a breakdown, like like an autopsy, like show why exactly this fight is so bad. Um,
Well,
you
let me
know,
say
when it
one
when
thing really quick before we even
Mhm.
get to that, because I will say this about episode 6. Mostly I was bored, but then we had some good Mogedian moments. The one who
Yeah.
the Forsaken who created the
Yeah,
gray
yeah, yeah.
men. She had some weird moments that we didn't need, like her like chewing food and spitting that into people, like or like tearing apart people's underwear for like there were weird moments just to build her character. You didn't see that?
I think I wasn't paying attention or
Maybe
something.
they're very quick scenes,
Like,
but that's the thing. That was again. Remember we said it kind of drifted back to TikTok. Those were some of the
yeah.
TikTok moments. They give like 5 or 10 second scenes of just her walking in and like in one she grabs a bunch of food off the table from these black, dark friend Aes Sedai,
Yeah.
chews it up and spits it back into their food just to show how weird she is. And then she walks into like their closet and starts literally tearing apart their underwear and their clothes with her teeth. Like she's just a total weirdo. And we didn't need that. We already know she tortures people for fun. Like it was so weird. But then we got to see her use compulsion to wipe the memories of the girls and steal the bracelet from them. Like
Yeah.
that's all they needed to do that episode because that was good. That was well done.
Yeah,
And
but you
then
said
I will
TikTok
say
brand,
this.
and I was like, that scene's dragging on a little bit too much.
Which one?
When she's like manipulating
Oh, when
them,
she is,
and
yeah, when she's yeah, that is the
yeah,
thing.
and
That
they're
could
like,
have been
we love you.
Yeah, that could have been half the length for sure. It
Yeah.
was boring. And then I'll say this: the episode. Here's the thing. Okay, speaking of the books, spoiler. Um, so them capturing Samael does happen then, or I feel like it might have been enough. Anyways, I won't get into the details, but capturing one of the Forsaken to train Rand does
Hmm.
happen around the time of Ruidian and all that.
Okay.
What they changed was the death of the little girl. That's a
Oh.
scene borrowed from technically book 3 in a different context.
Okay.
And I thought that was so. I'll say that scene of Rand finally
Yeah.
giving us a taste of his godlike powers, even just for 2 seconds. Thank you. You should not have waited 3 seasons, two
I agree with
seasons
that.
and 6 episodes to finally give us a taste of that. And
Yeah,
then
I agree with
seeing
that.
his grief over this girl, and then his you know broken mind trying to bring her back, like that I thought they captured that perfectly out of the book.
I agree with that. Yeah. No, it's just that that battle scene I just thought was so bad, and then there's that actress playing that Hobbit, and it's just like she looks like a gnome,
Oh,
and
so
it's
now
I
going
can't
to
take her
episode 7.
seriously.
Yeah.
It's just there's I mean, like I said, I'm gonna do a deep dive on that because there were just so much wrong with that, and just cringe scenes happening, and I'm like, this just took such a wild dive in quality.
I'll say, okay, yeah, like I'll say this in the actress's defense who plays Fail is that is how she is depicted in the books. She is meant to be like a quarter of Perrin's size, and she is like that. The trap the producers do get into is there are some interesting choices in Robert Jordan's
Sometimes
own
accuracy
writing.
isn't the way to do it, like
Yeah, like
uh
honestly,
what was it, Cowboy Bebop, and they casted a person that looked like uh that little girl boy thing and that character, and everybody's like, this is no, please don't.
mm,
Like, this is why it works in animation, it doesn't work here.
yeah,
Sometimes it works in a book, it doesn't work here. Yeah,
yeah.
it
I
was
like
so
this comment
goofy.
here.
Just her being like, I'll cover your back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
stupid. I'm sorry,
Like,
that was so dumb.
it's so embarrassing. She's like, I'm so edgy. I got these knives. I'm so edgy. Uh, yeah.
I
All right.
like
Let's.
throwing knives in the books. Like sometimes the characters are cool with them. Or Tom Maryland. Tom Maryland is cooler with his knives than she is with hers by a mile. But yeah, that was so stupid. Oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then I sorry, I was gonna say let's just talk about the end, but we got to talk about they killed off what's his name,
Loyal.
Loyal. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Son of Halal, son of yeah.
and
Like
it was such a bad. I'm like, bro, he's like screaming out, like, "Oh, I'm gonna do big." I'm like, no, come on, at least like be like fighting them off, trying to break it or something. He's like, I just gotta do this quick. I'm like,
yeah. I just had
stupid.
a thought that I didn't clue in on until now, but just before I even get directly related to this. But first, just yeah, that whole I had no investment in it. I love Loyal. I love the casting. I love their depiction of him, and I love him in the books. So just killing him off felt stupid on every possible level.
Yeah. I
Like,
disagree with casting, but yeah, it's just,
I thought I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't mind his character at all.
all right. Well,
But what I'll
um,
say is because of a decision they made at the end, I even made a post about it today, making fun of this. What I was waiting for all season, because they built to it the whole time in multiple, every decision they made this season seemed to be pointing towards the showdown between Moiraine and Lanfear, right?
yeah.
So,
What a wet blanket or
well, if you
whatever they
don't mind
say.
a book spoiler here, because it's not in
I
the
don't.
show, so
No,
if
I
you don't
don't.
mind a book spoiler here,
I do
what's
not.
what's supposed to happen in a different context, but similar enough. I think it happens in book 6. I looked it up beforehand. So in book 6, so a few 2 books after what we've seen this season for the most part,
Hmm.
they have this showdown, and Lanfear is just trying to kill everyone because she's mad at Rand for loving someone else, not even the person. Anyways, we won't even get into that. But the point is, Moiraine, ends up tackling Lanfear through essentially a gate portal, kind of like the one that Matt went through to see the Aelfin, but different.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they both get lost in the folds of time, essentially. And you think they're both dead
Oh.
for many books.
Okay. Wow.
And then, spoiler alert, obviously neither of them are
Well,
in different ways.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
you kind of
that
figure
was
there's no way. There was no way that they were killing her off.
Moiraine. You mean? Yeah, like
Maureen. Yeah. No.
that's the thing. That's the thing is I thought if they're actually building to this and they have the balls to do it, I will be impressed. If they don't, if they cop out in some way, I'll be annoyed. But the reason I'm bringing that up here is I almost wonder if they're going to try and bring Loyal back because he's kind of fallen now into empty space.
Who knows? Star Wars did
it.
it. Chewbacca died 3 times. Why can't Loyal die 3 times? No, I just I can't really remember anything from that episode besides that fight. It just was such a nothing episode. I'm like, man, this is your finale. And then the fight, okay, the special effects look good, but I'm like, there's nothing happening with the fight. And I'm like, guys,
we're on episode 7
fights,
now, or are we? Or
we're on the finale. We're on the
finale. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
Lanfear and
Lanfear and Moiraine, and it's just like
so boring.
you're supposed to, you can't just have flashy sparks, guys. That works for short clips and stuff, or little videos. But I'm like, you're supposed to tell a story with fight scenes. Like there's supposed to be what were the steps, progress, tension break. Things happen during a fight that's more than just sword hitting sword, or in this case, fireball hitting shield. It's boring. It's flashy but boring.
Yep.
And
thoroughly bored.
Yeah, and then the end. That's not where you end this season.
Yeah. Now,
what? What?
Well, on multiple levels, right? I mean, killing off Siuan Sanche, which I like.
Wait, is that blonde?
Sorry.
Which one's? Oh yeah, no. So the
Amberlyn seat, giving her big speech. I still love Moiraine, and then her head gets cut off, and Moiraine goes nuts, and that's the only reason she defeats Lanfear. I'm like, okay, so I see why they did that just for convenience for that, but because that's all that comes down to. It also now opens up Moiraine for the romance she's supposed to have later in the books, so maybe that's why they did it. Because I'll leave it at that. Because romantic decisions they've made throughout this show, all across the board, have been some of them I've been okay with, even though they're different from the books. But then they clearly are still trying to. They can't seem to make up their mind on whether or not they want to follow the books, which is actually more annoying than if they just betrayed it entirely or kept to it entirely. Anyways, but yeah, Siuan Sanche, her death from having read the books, that's disappointing because they had something so cool they could have done. I actually liked her plot going forward after she gets stilled. So that was just a waste of opportunity. Yeah, she survives, and then cool stuff happens later.
Yeah, imagine they would just still her, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh, yeah, she
like,
doesn't die. She
wait a
doesn't
minute.
die
So
in
this,
that when Aleida takes over as the new Amberlin. She does like Suan Sanche and Leanne, who
mm,
the Blue Keeper, like they both escape eventually and maybe get their powers. But spoiler. But
I mean, this might be a book complaint. It's like okay, they made a vote that she's still on the seat, and then they're like, haha, fooled you. We ran in real quick with 8 people and did a vote. And I'm
yeah,
like, what are the rules? You're just
yeah,
making shit up.
yeah.
Is that in the book too?
More like her getting deposed. That felt that like even if they changed some things,
Hmm.
it felt right. It felt like the insane politics just crumbling everything to ash. Um,
Yeah.
what they
I
didn't
just
do, which is there was supposed to also be like a lot of infighting. Like the warders were supposed to go to town on each other. Remember they brought the two princes in earlier in the season?
yeah.
The two princes,
Yeah.
yeah, they
Oh
disappeared. Where did they
yeah.
go? Right? Where did those princes
What the
go?
yeah, I forgot about that. It was kind of like I like that like little fight with them and Matt.
Yeah, that's straight out of the. Now they changed a few things, so some but diehard fans of the books didn't like that. I loved that scene. I thought that was
Yeah, I
beautiful.
remember. Like, I forgot that was it. Yeah, I like that scene.
Yeah, and then they
And it
just
was just
dropped those
like,
two
well,
actors.
it was interesting seeing women swoon over a man, and I'm like, it just feels like that's just not been a thing in
No,
this show.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of that was part of the appeal. Actually, I loved more than anything. I loved Nynaeve in that scene where Matt is taking them to town, and she's just there, kind of smirking,
yeah, yeah.
at their expense.
No,
These cocky bastards who are getting their asses handed them by a guy with a bow staff or a quarter staff, and like, oh,
right.
so satisfying. And then they just drop those two guys.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
again, we'll get into that because I think we'll probably speed that. We're going a little longer than I expected, but um, so just the end. I mean,
yeah,
they left on like he takes charge of the people, cool, whatever. Woo! Even though it kind of like already happened ish, and then he's like unable to control his powers, and then it's like, oh, what's happening? You'll find out next season. I'm
yeah.
like, what? I'm like, no, you tell us now.
Yeah, it didn't feel like this season was the right time to end on a cliffhanger. This is
That
when
was
you
like the
needed.
worst cliffhanger. I mean, just it was so lame, and it was
Yeah,
already after these wet blankets, and you're just like, really,
yeah. Like
like
that's part of
really,
what I knew from the trailer that this is what they were building to, and they were
mm,
building to the showdown between Lanfear and
Maureen.
Moraine, and they were building to Rand taking his place as Karakar, which is fine, but that's not a finale. That's maybe in episode 7, and then give us some. There's plenty of material in the books to really take us home. So why would you end on such a no, I
Yeah,
didn't
there's some
mind.
cliffhangers at work, like, hey, is Jon said Snow legitimately dead?
Mm,
But like, imagine if they instead of Jon Snow getting stabbed, they're like, we're about to stab you, and then they're like, cut, and you're like, what?
yeah, yeah.
Like, can't
Now
do
I'll say
that.
this: the depiction itself of Rand using his power in that particular scene,
Yeah.
I did like that, especially from the books, because what becomes a huge theme going forward from roughly that middle slog point,
Yeah.
like books 5, 6, 7, it's constantly Rand dealing with the poison within the male half of the power, right?
Mm.
And so you see that turn to darkness and madness,
Yeah.
competing with him just as a person now in a position of authority, with all these people bowing to him,
Yeah.
and you don't know which is which, and then also just his personality as ultimately a decent guy doing the best in his circumstances. So you're always kind of you're always in his head, so you always see that he's wrestling with this every step of the way. And the line from the prophecy that more you hear Moiraine's voice saying about like a stone of heart, and pray that pray that he finds tears, and blah blah blah. The closing lines were actually okay, because I felt like they did depict him like drifting away from Egwene and drifting and
Mm.
hardening. They depict him hardening very well.
Yeah. I mean,
The
I'll say like the weaving in general. Like, am I wrong to say that it felt like it was more unique in this season? Like, it felt like
Like their
it fit.
battle, the weaves of power, you mean?
Yeah, like you could see like the colors and stuff. Like you could see differences. I felt like in the people more this season than the other season. So
Well,
I
they
just thought that was
introduced like I'll say this, I actually liked a lot of the weaving in season 1, and I was curious how they were then going to introduce the different elements, right? Which they did in
mm,
season 2, and it felt kind of boring. It actually something about the graph like just the special effects of the weaving itself
yeah.
bored me in season 2. This
Oh
season
yeah,
it got way better,
yeah.
but like only when Rand uses it was I been really impressed. I'll say
Mm.
that. Like Rand's
Okay.
weaving is still the coolest, which I guess it should be, but I actually kind of want. Oh no, the exception would be not Moiraine when she's using the ter'angreal, the Sarkhanen. But
Yeah.
remember in the flashbacks when they show the old lady Latra when
Mm.
she uses it and creates the Ruidi, the fog and all of that, when she uses that power, when she raises the pillars out of the ground, the crystal pillars, like
Yeah.
that was some badass channeling. That was weaving as it was supposed to be, you know? That
Okay.
was impressive.
Well,
That had me.
overall, it's like, man, there's actually some hope for this. That's crazy. And I'm like full on up. I'm like, am I gonna get like egg on my face? Like, wow, the show that I said that has zero hope is actually gonna end up good. And then like, no,
No.
they, they ruined it so bad for themselves. So bad. They messed up so many things at the end, and it was just a total flop.
Yeah. Like I'm kind
That's
of losing endurance at this point where I
hmm,
still had endurance to keep watching for this season. And now, even though I've seen they can hit some really good highs, like I'm not interested in more right now. Maybe a
yeah.
year or two from now I'll feel different and I'll give it a chance. But
Nah, I mean season two, dude. Because I actually never finished season two, so I had to like watch it to catch up, and I was like,
mm,
man, this is it was so hard to watch. I was like, so bad. But yeah, okay, that's our thoughts on the series. Let's go into episode by episode. Do we want to skip episode one? We already talked about episode
I
one
feel
a
like we
lot.
nailed episode 1. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
episode two.
Hmm.
What happened to episode two?
Okay. Yeah. So that was
There's
when
another
they
gray
got.
man. I think.
Sorry,
I think there's another gray man.
Gray Man. Yes, but uh, maybe one of the more boring parts, or no, that might have been 3. But the thing is, episode 2 gave us a deep dive into Morghese and Elaine Tricand. So
Yes. Well, they were
yeah,
doing a lot of the dream hopping, which I kind of was just. I just.
that too. Yeah.
I mean, I like again. I mentioned before how I liked the dreams being more of a thing in this season, but I don't care for that actress. It's just
Well,
she's so boring.
that might not have been as big a part of episode 2, though. Like episode
Yeah,
2 was the it started with the flashback of the Queen Mother,
the
which
queen. Yeah, that was
yeah,
cool.
and like I'll say that scene caught me off guard because I love Morghese is meant to be just like that in the books. But that was a gritty opening scene. That was a ballsy choice, and it felt kind of
Oh yeah,
More Game of Thrones than Wheel of Time.
yeah. That was pretty cool. I like that. That's why
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, man. I was like, yo, this season's like. I'm
and
like, it got me invested in something in a couple minutes. I'm like, okay, that's a sign of good writing. Let's go.
that's also the episode when they introduced us to Eleda. So in that scene, she's the red Aes Sedai who's first an advisor. She was the one who
Yeah,
was
I've
supposed to be
seen
in
her in a
everyone.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Really good actress, and I
really
feel like she's getting cast in a lot of stuff. But really
yeah.
good actress. But man, her voice is raspy.
So unique.
Like
I love it.
it's like she's really good, but I'm like, man, I don't think I've ever heard a raspier voice.
Oh yeah, no, I mean she's legendary for it because
Yeah.
I even in video games when I hear her, I know it's her. She's in some of the Mass Effect games. She plays one of the
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the ones I know her from. But she's been in tons of movies. She was in The
Well, I think
Expanse.
she might have health issues. It was particularly raspy this
Oh yeah,
season.
yeah. There's definitely an explanation for it. I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
It
mean
was like it was rough. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean that is her voice for whatever reason, however she got there.
Yeah,
And
but I don't remember it being that bad. I remember
oh
it
yeah,
being softer. You know.
I don't know. No, I know her.
It was very raspy. Yeah.
I know. I like that's her. That's her voice
All
for sure.
right. Well, if something pops up like news
I,
wise with her health, like told you.
I hope not.
I told you.
I actually really like her. Yeah, she was
No,
even
I like
in.
her too. I like her too. But
This is like she was even in. This is ages ago, and it wasn't the best like Christmassy sort of movie, but the Nativity Story. Did you ever
hmm,
see that one? Like that's an old. Oh, not that
uh,
old. It was a newer attempt at a live, uh, like Jesus birth
action.
movie. Yeah, and it was
Uh,
half decent. And she played
eh.
Elizabeth in it, and so that was another one where I saw her, and I was like, oh my gosh, who is this woman's voice out of nowhere? But yeah, because she has
Yeah.
such a distinct voice. I recognize,
Eh.
and I think at the time I was playing Mass Effect, so I remember being like, wait, I know this person.
Yeah, I'm out to see who she played, man. I love that series. But
Yeah.
all right, I think we can go over episode 2 because like it was generally good. Good. Unless there's a scene that I'm not remembering was in that. That was when the fight was you met
No, I think
we talked
the
about in length,
fight was
right?
I think episode 3. The one
3.
thing I'll say about season 2, or sorry, episode 2, otherwise, because yeah, otherwise, I even like I thought it was mostly boring, but I loved the introduction of Gabriel. So
Oh yeah,
the queen's consort, who you then
yeah.
like now having read the books, I knew right away this guy's a Forsaken, and so one of
Hmm.
the things I thought they did freaking beautifully was just him like walking into the room the first time and people not knowing who he is for that split second, just a split second.
For him to change their memory.
Yeah, right. And then they
Oh
immediately go, "Ah, Gabriel, it's so nice to see you again." But they don't show they don't show him using his power because women can't see his power, right?
yeah. I guess
So
I didn't pick up on that. Wait, so women can't see his power?
yeah, women can only see other women's power, and men can only see other men's power.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's something they don't
Yeah,
perfectly depict, but is
yeah.
the case in the books. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So it makes that so much cooler when it makes that was one scene that impressed me that I know most watchers wouldn't be impressed by. But having
Yeah.
read the books, him that split second of the characters being confused, even Elaine, when Elaine walks into the room and he's there and she pauses for a second and she goes, "Oh, Gabriel, like that's really that's great attention to detail. Like I will give
Yeah.
these people credit where it's due, you know."
Okay. No, no, yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
And I
I
think I
recommend.
remember being like a little confused. So I was like one of those moments, like, did I miss something? But I did, like usually I rewind.
Mm,
Um, because I think I just yeah, I don't know. That's cool. That's really cool.
yeah.
Episode 3 was a White Cloak episode. No,
Mhm.
I think all the White Cloaks are cast really well.
Caswell, you
Uh,
said?
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
of them.
I love
Like I
Dane
think they
Warhol, and I loved Valda. Yeah,
like I just they're all their acting, intimidation,
yep.
or every single one of them, and their outfits look awesome. Also, something that I noticed, I
Season
think it was
one,
this
I thought their
episode.
outfits sucked. I think they improved the outfits season 2, and they mastered them season 3. I'll say that.
That might be yeah. I might have felt that way too.
Fair.
I don't remember season one well, but I noticed something this episode. I was like, oh my god, their clothes are dirty. People's
Mm,
clothes were dirty, and people had dirt on their face. If you go back like season 1, season 2, everybody's so clean
yeah,
all the time, and it's so distracting. Like all these like settings they're in, and everything's so polished and clean, and you're like, none of this looks real.
yeah.
And now you see some dirt, some stains on people. I'm like, okay, it was that easy, guys. You've been doing this for years. Why haven't you been doing this?
Well, there's the one
Um,
scene where Padden Fane comes in with the bad white cloaks,
yeah,
and they say they've been fighting Trollocs, so they're all covered in blood, and you're like, yeah, like they're wearing white, you would expect them to be a little bit dirty after a fight,
yeah,
you know. So that was like, yeah, I agree. It was finally noticeable that these people were actually, living in rough circumstances.
right, yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm assuming we got more scenes between what's his name, Wolf Boy and the gnome.
Yeah, yeah. I think was it episode 3? Was that their romance? No, no,
Yeah,
that was more their introduction, I think. Yeah, no, no, their romance
I
comes
just
later.
any scene with that chick in there just cringe. I
There
thought
were
the
some
guy.
funny ones. I will say this: the when she first comes over to him while he's sitting at a table, introduces herself and says, "I call myself Mandarb," and he laughs in her face and then says, "Oh, that's what Lan calls his horse." And I thought that was pretty darn funny. Her being pissed and walking away. I thought that was great.
Well, I was gonna say I think he was better in this. I don't think he's
Yeah,
great, but I think he was definitely noticeably better,
I
more
agree.
enjoyable in this. But I think in the war scene it just like broke down. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's just like everything about that girl, just everything she does, and she's just like,
I kind of
you
feel
know,
bad for her. Yeah, because someone pointed it out, and then I couldn't unsee it because yeah, she is looking up the whole time because she is short.
well, she doesn't have to stand that close.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You don't have to
It's
stand that close, so you don't have to be
it's
jutting your
literally
chin out the whole. Yeah,
and I'm like, this is,
it looks
and
so bad.
she's like taking out her knife, being like, yeah, like I'm, I'm so edgy, and it's just like, I don't know, telling him what to do and everything. I can't take her seriously.
Yeah.
Anything she does, I'm just like, this is just such bad
Well,
casting.
yeah, like some of it was the casting, but I like I'll actually give some defense there.
Because they got the height right.
They got the height right. They got the personality right. Honestly, I kind of
Ah,
yeah, that's the thing. Once you meet her in the later books, you'll be like, oh, you know what? Okay, yeah. Like I thought she was a pain in the ass for a while, and then finally I was like, okay, I'll be okay with her being with Perrin. But
okay.
she kind of yeah, like I actually I feel like
Yeah, I wasn't buying that relationship at all.
no, yeah, and that's the
Like,
thing, like there
like
I do feel like they are. This is one of the cases where I think they're trying to follow the books and doing it in a way that I don't yet believe. But
well, I'm
maybe
like, did I miss something? Because it felt so forced. It felt like so out of nowhere. Just like we're supposed to be in a relationship, so we skip the part where we like have that awkwardness and everything, and
yeah,
will they,
like
won't they?
no,
Just
it's.
like,
I'll be honest. That's one of the romance. I mean, yeah, Robert Jordan doesn't always nail romance, and this is one of the
hmm,
ones where I feel like they are giving me the same vibe I got from the book. Funny enough,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
So brace yourself
that's
for
just
that.
how I feel whenever they show up.
Yeah, yeah.
Episode 4, Road to the
Episode 4.
Spear.
Yeah,
This is the one. This is the one that everyone really liked, and we
yeah,
kind of talked about that. I don't think there's like okay, so let's talk about like the flashbacks, right? Because I was like, all right, so uh, like they're kind of in a future esque setting in the past,
yeah.
not because it's right, because it's not the future. It's just the fact that they
Oh
were
yeah, no.
more
When they go,
advanced.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're talking 3,000 years in the past when things
Yeah.
were basically a paradise, and they were using the one power. They had like flying machines and cars, and yeah,
They
yeah.
had that in the book too.
In the book, oh yeah, they have like flying vehicles and floating structures, and oh yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. That was actually very well done.
Yeah, that's like really cool. And you don't get any of that from the first book.
Yeah,
Um, and I
there's a
remember,
few
dude,
hints.
the
There's like
biggest
one or
sin.
two. There's one or two scenes where they show like broken down skyscrapers,
Mm.
that look like spires of stone. But if you look closely in season one, they are actually trying to make it look like
Well, I
skyscrapers.
mean, just reading in the book, like you
Oh,
can't really
in
pick
the
that
book,
up.
yeah, okay. So
But
it comes
like,
later,
okay,
maybe.
the biggest thing, because I have to talk about this. The biggest sin was not having the opening of the book in the show, the Cataclysm. I'm like,
Like
that was such a
the opening of Eye of the
yeah
World.
of him. He just murdered his family and
Yeah.
all of his friends, and he's like, no, and he just ruptures the world. I'm like, I remember in the book, I was like, yo, this is all right. I get it. This is
Oh yeah,
cool.
that was one of those badass prologues to a book that's ever been written. And instead,
Yeah.
whenever they showed him in their weird, it was like him just having a debate with one of the female Aes Sedai. Oh, don't do this. I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay, goodbye.
It's
And her
just,
pretending that she knows. Anyways, yeah, no, just oh yeah, their
but
flashback.
I never thought, reading the book that was a future setting. I was like, that's cool.
Futuristic at the time. Yeah, no, no,
Futuristic.
no.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of hard to frame that.
It might have been too that's some of it is like authors world build as they go,
Yeah.
because no, you definitely when you read
Well,
the
he didn't really
prologue.
describe the setting. So it's like,
Well, he described it almost like a castle, and it felt like you're
oh, did he?
walking through the halls of a castle. He's wearing
Oh,
robes. He has a sword. It felt medieval, and he has his
uh,
family. His all his friends and family are dead.
yeah, he might have added
Right,
that
like
later.
it felt yeah. So it felt medieval when I read that, and you don't get
Yeah.
the futuristic details until later books. for sure.
But man, there were some cool flashbacks with like Rand being like killed over and over again, or like all the different versions of him going crazy,
Yeah,
like on
well,
the
I mean,
river.
through Moraine's eyes, her
Yeah,
her
yeah,
the cinematography, like the wheel spinning, right, to flip
mm,
between scenes. Oh my god.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was all. It was all really cool. It's just like I said, it was like when they're when the futuristic setting and like some of them kind of like not sure exactly what's going on. Was this also the one where they show the gleam? What do they call them? The people who do the dance or the grass, the way to leave, the way to leave. Sorry, the way to leave. And they show their backstory of them just like it's
Just
Rand.
continue. Well, yeah, because that's Rand's backstory, right? That's the
Mm,
Aiel. The Aiel's history is that they were originally those people. So
yeah.
they show the Aiel's history, and then they transition to the Way of the Leaf
Yeah.
history. And like, yeah, his one flashback where they show George. What was the name? I even wrote it down because it was his best. Like again, Rand's like the actor. He just blew me away with
Yeah.
this season, but this episode in particular, Janduin and Jonai, when he plays the old man ancestor, right?
Mm.
And his, the parent, his children have just died, and his grandson is there with him, and then he pulls the cart, but his face, the makeup, and his voice, oh my, like that,
Yeah.
I was blown away. I thought it was a
Yeah,
great.
there was a definitely a lot. And like I said, the biggest thing was just like we weren't really swapping around stories. We were focused on one continual story and just like really getting to just lay in there like a jacuzzi and just like experience it. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Um
the scene itself was like from the book. It was, obviously done in such a way that it was jumping from one,
yeah, but
ancestor
it's like you're
to
still
another.
watching Rand slowly walk across.
Yeah.
Like it was very intentional. Like I have a scene like that in my book. It's just like that's yeah. There's jumping in that sense, but for this the little small arc you're getting,
Yeah.
it's like that you're actually getting to experience that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it was from a TV perspective. I think it lasted something like half an hour, and I
Mm,
swear the whole time I watched, I thought they were going to switch to Moiraine or switch back to Egwene
mm.
and Avienda outside, or Egwene and Lan. I thought they were going to, like you said,
Yeah,
hop around, and they didn't. They took us all the way through that 3,000 year segment.
yeah,
Like that, I like that. Yeah, I know that's where I really noticed. Oh my gosh, they're committing to this. They're giving us half an hour of Rand, just that one actor kicking ass.
yep. And then
That
episode 5 happened. Episode 5 I think was like oh that was when the kid died, right? Was that one?
no, that was episode 6.
Was
So
it? Okay,
episode
so it says Egwene must learn to control her dream powers. Hey, that's the thing. I didn't really care too much about Egwene,
yeah,
especially because her chemistry, especially with her chemistry with Rand, is just like non-existent.
yeah.
It's just nowhere, and that was not patched in this season. I did like I like Rand sleeping with the other chick. Did that happen in the books? Did he sleep with
Uh,
the Lanfear?
so it doesn't happen. Yes and no. I want to say no overall
Yeah,
because
kind of a
he meets
super douche move.
he meets her. He does. They never sleep together in an inn or anything. He meets her and
Yeah.
slowly discovers that she is Lanfear
Uh,
as she travels with them for a while. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I feel like no, but I want to reread now. But I'm
I
99%
still liked it.
sure.
I liked him like going into the dream, but also it's just like, man, he's totally cheating on the chick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
the thing
like,
is, they more or less just drift away and break up. I think even before.
yeah.
Like, frankly, he's supposed to be with like 3 other people by now, anyway. But
Mm.
let's not even get to that. Uh,
Yeah, no, they always kind of talked about that in the book too, is like that they were gonna drift apart. Like they
yeah,
were foreshadowing that the hardcore.
yeah.
But
So
you know,
I didn't mind. If anything, I felt like that's the thing is because in the books they drift apart pretty quickly. They dragged out their romance a little bit
mm,
in this season, needlessly. I think.
yeah.
I did like that final dream. Like I'm with you. I didn't like overall the dream sequences. I kind of didn't like them in the books either. There's way too much time spent in Teleran Riyadh, the dream world, in the
Yeah.
books. But then, like, yeah, this episode overall boring. We get Seafolk, we get Alana and Maxim weird romance that I didn't need. Like, I don't. Those characters don't matter to me at all.
Oh man.
And then,
Dude, the spear people and playing that the maiden's kiss game. That's cringe.
yeah,
That's so cringe.
and
But
then
those
the
characters
episode,
in general are just really cringe.
yeah, like they have. There's parts that they hinted at but didn't nail with the Aiel that would have been so much better. But
Every time we got to put our mask on when we go to fight. We're so cool.
Well, I mean, that's in the books though. That's.
Well, they specifically mention that every time they go to fight that they
Oh yeah,
cover their
yeah, yeah. I
mouth.
mean, that's yeah. Don't worry, that's not like a COVID holdover. That's from the book.
And so why?
Yeah,
They already saw your face.
they tried to explain it in the flashbacks, but it didn't work for me. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't care about their.
No, okay.
Yeah. But as far as the dreams, really quick, I did like all the dream sequences bored me, except for that final dream that Egwene has, where she visits all her friends' dreams, and it's beautiful. Lots of very idyllic scenes, right?
Yeah.
And then she sees Rand. with Lanfear, and you're like, that's the thing. They ended on that note, right? They end on
that was a good place idea.
That was a great ending.
Fun.
And then episode 6, when you're expecting this like showdown or something, and it's
you're cheating on me. You're literally
like,
sleeping with somebody in your head while you're sleeping with me. There was not an appropriate reaction going on. I was like,
it was such a boring fight. Like their argument was the most boring. Like you said, no chemistry. It was overall. I've always had mixed feelings about her acting and that character, but that was the low point by far. That argument they have before Samael shows up and throws them aside. Like, oh.
Yeah, it's so bad. So did we get Perrin? Is that his name? Something like that. Did we get the town training in this episode, or was that the next episode?
That was I might have started that episode.
Because that is another trope where I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just stop. The town can't train in 2 days to defeat the forces of evil, overwhelming evil. Like it's trope that happens in so many things, and I'm just like, just stop. It's a stupid trope. It's dumb. You're going to lose.
They are taking it out of the books, but I hated it in the books too. I was underwhelmed by the Two Rivers. Like at some point, the Two Rivers does not have the population to keep going into these battles and still have people left. By the last battle, I'm pretty sure they're like a contingent in the last battle, like 10 books later.
We're gonna show you guys how to jab with a spear real quick, and it's like,
yeah,
it works sometimes. It's worked in scenes before. But it's typically speaking, it's just like it's just the laziest writing ever. Like we're just gonna train this 2 days of training. We're gonna jump cut to the future, and they're trained now, and they can actually take on the elite guard that have been training their entire lives to siege places. Yeah, you just stop.
Yeah, I agree. It's so overdone.
All right, episode 6. What happened in episode 6?
So that's. Yeah, so that was
the kid dies.
Yeah, the kid dies at the end.
Yeah, that was
and Tanchico. So we had Elaine singing her song, "The Hills of Tanchico," if you remember that. That kind of raunchy knee slapper song with Tom Marilyn.
Oh, that was horrible. That was so bad. The entire scene was so bad. Yeah. And like the entire time I'm like, this actress is like, she's playing the role pretty well. I think we could say that every character is probably too old for what the book kind of portrays them. Am I right to say that?
I'm okay with it, but yeah,
I'm okay with it. I'm definitely okay with it, but it's just so I'm like, that was like my own thing. I was like, she looks like the character, I guess, but I'm like, she's a little bit old, or that I would imagine. But yeah, I'm like that scene. What the fuck was that, dude? That was not it. That's one of the things you got to look at. Like, guys,
is like, I will say, Robert, like the Wheel of Time series, Robert Jordan's writing is a whole lot of really well written epic fantasy with pockets of hilariously over-sexualized content just thrown in for kicks and giggles. So some of the songs kind of do feel like that. And some of the, if anything, the show toned down a few things, like the sweat tents that we saw with the Aiel, or the sea folk. The sea folk are all supposed to be topless on their ships. Get ready for that later on.
Folks.
Yeah, remember when Elaine and they go on the ship that takes them to Tanchico.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was lame.
Underwhelming and much better in the, well, again, better, but weirdly sexualized. It was or just, but also boring in the books too. Like not a big thing in the books, not a big thing here. Whatever. But like the point is, and then I've complained before about in the books. There's like everyone all the women at least get paddled or spanked constantly. It throughout all the books. I think Brandon Sanderson, he continued it because you almost can't get away from it. So in book 11, there's still, or 12, there's still some spanking, and then 13 and 14, no spanking. He's like, okay, we're gonna end. I'm gonna pretend to be okay, and then yeah, like.
Man, I didn't realize that's the direction it's gonna take. I have heard of that there's like BDSM symbolism and stuff in there, which
not a small amount. I'm talking like freaking sister.
Okay, so kind of like Sword of Truth amount, man. But yeah, okay.
So that's the thing is, so that song and that scene, it's clear, like it's somewhat forced in by the people directing it, but it also didn't feel off from some of the books. In my so I was thrown off. She can sing, I'll say that. She has a voice.
But but it's just the everything around that was so bad. And then we get introduced to Tom, which guys,
he got brought back.
Wasn't he not in the first season?
No, yeah, he was. Are you kidding me? So that's the thing.
Oh, he was?
I was so in season 1. Yeah, and he is. I mean, you've read the books.
Totally forgot. Yeah. No, yeah,
In book 1, he like Matt and Rand meet him. He travels with them for a while, and then he gets he fights off a Fade in the middle of a town, and they escape, and they never see him again for a while. But he does come back, and he's a major character, and he's a major love interest for another major character later. So he's big. And I love him in the books. I really love him in the books. Yeah. So when I heard his voice, even before they showed him in this episode, I was freaking happy. I was really, really excited.
I don't know. For some reason in my head, I thought that they forgot about him.
Well, I thought
they didn't really do anything.
I thought they were going to get rid of him. So that's why I was satisfied they brought him back. I thought, good for you. Thank you. Yeah. And they had him wearing the proper Gleeman's coat, Yeah,
because he plays a big part in the books.
Yeah.
Or at least the first book.
Yeah. Anyway, it should have made me happier, and then they followed it with that scene, the weird, song, Hills of Tanchico scene, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, well,
Oh, I remember they also went to attack the White Cloaks, and like to free the two Aes Sedai.
Yes. The sisters, Matt's sisters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was. Okay. There's the Aes Sedai and her swordsman or whatever they're called.
That's what killed that episode for me.
Yeah, their relationship just.
I do not care about their romance at all. Like no one cares. You don't.
So bad.
Like why? and then it ends with her getting like 5 arrows through her, and she's somehow fine long enough.
She keeps on getting killed and being like, "Oh, I went fine."
For her in the next episode, like what the hell?
They're taking some notes from Star Wars, the new trilogy, dude.
Yeah, like them getting stabbed by lightsabers all the time and somehow being alive in every new, in every new TV show they do, and all the new Star Wars shows.
Oh yeah.
Like no, it's not bad. Surviving a stab from like if Qui-Gon died, you're dying, and it's that simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't take this, anyways. Okay,
yeah. So the big fight happens, and like I said, there's so much wrong with it. I forgot when they start singing at some point. I'm like. I can't look. It's so bad. Yeah. It's also like studio quality singing. I'm like, that's not how you're supposed to record this. Yeah. It's not supposed to sound so in sync.
In season 1, when Moiraine in the book, she gives the speech in a different context. She gives the speech to the whole village, right? About the history of Manetheren. And they took that almost right out of the book, and they had Moiraine say that to the kids as they're leaving the village, right? Mm. And then separately, and she does that right after they just sang that song. So then they brought that song back to this season, as kind of a battle rally cry. That could have been good. One, you need to add more lyrics and stretch the song out and make it badass. That could have been a badass rally cry before a battle. And instead, it was this really underwhelming.
Oh, it's just so in tuned though. Like it sounds so fake. Like, it sounds so studio. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it doesn't sound natural at all. It
Oh,
just
yeah, no,
sounds
no,
like, all right, guys, cue, sing. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Never
very forced, and I don't care if they all know it because it's a popular song in that village. I don't care. It did not feel real.
Yeah. Okay, so the barricade set up. I'm just like, what is going on here?
So lame. And they step back, and they step back by like 5 barricades.
Like, you guys are not like
around a curve, like, and there's like this slight, like barely slanted slope on one side that they could have just all run up. Like, what?
Well, like, this is not like, first of all, guys, this isn't to stop them. It's to control the flow of people, right? It's also, first off, this stuff should be in the ground. They shouldn't be like tossing it over as you saw them do. But generally speaking, yeah, I mean, you can use it to like kind of like make a wall, and it'll take them time to get that. But it's also, if you see like video games and stuff, it's to kind of like direct the flow of people. So when you have a crowd of people, you can kind of maybe choose where they're going.
Fair. So you'd want to bottleneck them, right? You wouldn't want to maybe scatter. Anyways, no,
right.
Didn't like it.
No, it was terrible in so many ways. But it's like, okay, the cool channeling with the hail, that was nice.
Actually, I have a complaint about that.
Oh, okay.
Because there's the sisters, Matt's sisters. At one point, they turned to her and they're like, "Oh, that was so much cooler than lightning." And I remember thinking, "No, it wasn't."
No, lightning would be way cooler.
My French, but no, it was not cooler than lightning.
Yeah,
like that's kind of like when sometimes you see an author in a book, they'll congratulate themselves. They'll be like, "Oh, that was such a cool thing to say." They'll say, like, one character will say that to another, and you'll read it as a reader, and you'll be like, "No, it's not.
No, it wasn't.
You're not as profound as you think you are." And you're like, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was one of those.
Yeah, no. And then so like they're completely overrun. I'm like, listen, once they're in the keep or like behind the wall, you're done. Like, not even like, it's over, and they still got the whole. It's like, why can't they ever form a line? Like, you'll hear people like you'll hear, and it's not just this show, but you'll be like, form a line, and then they don't, like, they form like kind of a line or something like that, and it's just not like, guys, stop. And I just
it was the women's circle. Do you remember the women's circle? Form a line, and they form a line of like 10 people. Like 20.
They're like 2 feet apart, like their shields aren't together, and they're like, "Oh yeah!" It's like a girl power moment. I'm like, stop,
so
stop.
And that's the thing, is I don't mind some good. There have been so many great movies with really great girl power moments, but then these forced ones like that, or like the Avengers Endgame scene with the girl power.
Horrible.
Right, like, it's one of those. Like, no, this is so, you're actually not. You're doing yourself a disservice. That's not girl power. This is lame.
It's just so unnecessary. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. You can do like scenes like that works like it. Like, women. I mean, when you got a big fight like that, like, women are obviously going to be helping. Like, you're taking every single person.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like, I don't know. Maybe like some of them are like there to like help watch the children or something like that. And then like, and it's just women assigned to that, and then all of a sudden they get ransacked, but then like a couple of them stand up and they kill a Trolloc, and it's like incredibly impressive for any human to kill a Trolloc. Like, that's an awesome, powerful moment. That's specifically like a girl doing that, right? And a girl.
So how did you feel about the Tuathon, like the way the Leaf people, because they were kind of doing that, and then we see Aram. Do I have his name right? Aram? Anyways, the son or the grandson who ends up killing a Trolloc.
Oh yeah, so they can't kill Trollocs either?
Oh yeah, no, they just have to take it. Yep.
And all about that Trolloc specifically was like super powered. Like, way more, just like a werewolf jumping around. Yeah,
well,
I kind of.
They are freaking huge. Yeah.
But when you got like a mesh of people, like, you got like, it just makes no sense. There's no line. Just people are amongst people, and they're like just fighting whoever's next to them. It's such a stupid trope.
Yeah.
But you have all that chaos happening, and then you got girl being like, going to her boyfriend like, "I believe in you. you can lead this place.
Yeah,
And he's
in the
like,
middle of a battle.
yeah,
That.
yeah, I can. And it's like, what?
They're like standing off
Like,
to the side while the battle's going on, giving each other pep talks. Like, excuse
how are
me, I
you
hate
even in the
that
mindset to
storyline.
be like, I'm gonna quit right now? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then,
So
like I said before, is the cringiest thing. He's just like, "Hiya!" And then she's like, "Hey, hey,"
yeah, coming
just
behind, slashing their throats. Like,
yeah.
no.
We're such a power couple.
Yeah.
Like, it's
The
so
line,
bad.
the line he gave, like, get the ones I miss. I liked that, and then the delivery was terrible. I'll say
Yeah.
that. Like, the actual delivery of her following him, slashing their throats felt very, I don't know. Yeah.
It just was like they want to have that moment, but it's just like, yeah, but to get there, you have to fuck up a lot of other things to get
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
just don't do that. You can't have that moment. Sorry. Have a different moment. Have one that makes sense.
Yeah. Or just,
Uh,
frankly, or just do it. Like how, I don't know, have her come to his support and then them fight. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. Very
anything.
boring. Very boring battle overall. And then
Abs-
underwhelming, him just sparing Pat and Fane and them going their separate ways. Okay.
yeah, and then I guess he got arrested in the end. I just.
Yeah. Which, I mean, fair.
Oh yeah, yeah. He lets him go. I'm like, what? Why, dude? No.
Yeah. Now Pat and
Even
Fane
so,
did
why are they listening
survive.
to him? Does that happen in the book? Like the Trollocs are going to listen to him as he's like.
I want to
Uh,
reread because I can't quite remember. Like I don't. Pat and Fane definitely survives, and I think they just essentially won. I thought. I need to reread that. So don't take my word there. I don't know entirely how well they're sticking to the book there, but Perrin eventually going with the White Cloaks or being caught by them, I think is more accurate. Um, like I like the setup there for what could come next.
yeah.
Fine. Him getting rescued. Okay, that'll be fun eventually, but overall that episode was just so lackluster. I'm not really committed to his storyline anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we need to go over the last episode. I think we covered that enough in detail.
Yeah.
Tim, you got anything else you want to say about the show?
I'm trying to think if there was anything. Yeah. Yeah, like again, I think the balance for me overall was in some ways there was really beautiful attention to detail and a lot of really great moments.
Hmm.
So I think that's what got my hopes up early on. Even something as small as um, this goes back to Rand, but little hints they made about him, and then little things like, yeah, here's 2 points. 2 points. One, they very quickly reference that his mother was not an Aiel. Two of the wise women tell him that. He's like, "Oh, my mother was Aiel," and they say, "No, your father was." And then they get interrupted, and the scene moves on. That's great attention to detail, but don't drop that kind of hint and not give me more. Uh, in the books, it comes out a little later exactly who she was, and it is important and it is kind of fun.
I don't. Yeah. Spoil.
Yeah, but whatever. And then I'll say this: if you build up a character as beautifully as you build up Rand in this season, you need to give him his due with the finale.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it would have been nice if he was built up in other seasons too, seeing as he's
yeah. Well, that's
character.
the thing too. Is they should have been building him up from day one. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about the Karakharn reveal. This is, I think, a good closer because it kind of shows the problem. There's the moment where the false Karakharn Couladin, he shows off his dragon arm tattoos, whatever.
Yeah.
And Rand comes and confronts him, and then he kind of just walks away and disappears.
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be what they didn't do justice.
I thought they were going to fight.
He does die, but I want to reread in the books too. But what's fun that they tried to capture and didn't was when Rand breaks the Aiel's vision of themselves by saying your true history is that you're oath breakers. That was supposed to be the big thing that revealed that Couladin was false, because he was supposed to say, oh yeah, I had these visions of our glory and our rich history and the many battles we have won, and that was the moment that all the chiefs were supposed to know he's lying, because clearly he hasn't seen our history, or he would be quiet right now because he would know that Rand is actually being truthful here, that we are oath breakers. That was supposed to be the thing that made them bow to Rand, because they realized this other guy's a liar. And they kind of just glanced over that. Instead, Rand uses the power, and somehow that's why they bow to him. That actually,
Yeah, that was silly. And
yeah.
then yeah,
So
that
they
just whole
have
thing.
this attention to detail right up until the moment they don't, and then the changes they make just consistently disappoint.
It's such
Like
weird changes. I mean, it's just I can only assume from a lack of understanding of what they're
I
reading.
don't think so. Like that's I think that's my point here is I am past believing that it's a lack of understanding because they show such understanding and detail in other spots. I
Mm.
genuinely at this point think it is a blend of incompetency and arrogance. They genuinely believe they are better,
Yeah.
that their ideas are better than the original source material.
Well, I mean, I think we got that from Brandon Sanderson himself when he would tell, because he said it. He's like, yeah, I tell them, this and this and story writing. They're like, well, that's what for books, not for TV. And it's just
Mm,
like, you're
yeah.
fucking stupid, Jesus. It's for both all mediums, story writing, guys.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm
Yeah,
completely with Brandon Sanderson on that. Like, yeah,
yeah,
their arrogance is astounding, and I think it's again they might be at the point where, despite some of the really good moments this season, I think I'll be surprised if it renews. I don't know. I don't even know how I'd feel if it did get renewed. I'd kind of be under. I don't know.
yeah. At least it's like it's not as assaulting where it's like Rings of Power. It's just
Yeah,
like I don't want to like any episode from Rings of Power.
yeah,
Like if there's an episode, like I'll be even more annoyed. You know what I mean? Like I'll be
yep.
like like just because there's such a passionate hate for Rings of Power, um, and that might be because of all the insulting things that they did to the Tolkien estate and stuff.
Yeah, but
But
then I still get people who love it, and I'm confused. Like, here's the thing: Wheel of Time. I can understand people not liking it, but there's enough good in it for me to also understand the people who love it. I have no comprehension whatsoever for people who like Rings of Power. It's such a slap in the face, through and through.
yeah,
And yeah. So to me, it's like we must be living in alternate universes if you say you like that show. Whereas I can have a spirited conversation, a balanced conversation about Wheel of Time. It's
yeah,
definitely better,
yeah.
remarkably
No,
better.
absolutely. Yeah, my brother-in-law. I mean, this was back when season 2 was airing. Yeah, they have 2 seasons of that show, right? Yeah.
Rings of Power,
Um,
or yeah,
what?
Rings of Power. You're saying two seasons?
Yeah, Rings of
Yeah.
Power season 2 is like airing, or no, it was season 1. It was season 1, and it was still going.
Mm.
And my brother-in-law it was like, "Yo, Rings of Power, right?" And I'm like, "What the fuck did you say?" And he's like, "Oh, I like the legalese that they did with the hobbits." And I'm like, "What did you just say to me?" And like I just was flabbergasted. I was like, "Oh man, I got some opinions about you now, man." um, and then like,
Yep.
because I told him like, yo, this is how it's gonna end. It's gonna end terribly. It's gonna be whatever. And he's just like, no. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Anyways, guys, that's our review of Wheel of Time
Wheel of
season
Time.
3.
Wheel of Time.
So, sorry guys, it was not great. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I
in
don't think it
line with
ever
the
had a
thumbnail.
chance to be great. It had a chance to be good.
Yeah.
And they missed that too.
Yeah.
But
Like your evidence that they started well enough, right? That this was their chance to redeem themselves, and no.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they could have went from good season 3 and then great season 4.
yeah.
But no, that's not happening now. But all right, I am gonna end the stream. Thanks all for stop by and listened. And please consider subscribing.
Cheers, everyone.